Story time with Kasper. Today's story is from the Chronocar by Steve Bellinger. Excerpt from Chapter 1. Straw Boss called out, "Quittin' time!" just before the whistle blew. 30 shirtless, exhausted men, their brawny bodies gleaming with sweat in the hot Mississippi sun, stopped what they were doing, not wanting to give the company a minute more than what they were getting paid for. It was a typical railroad work gang. Coolies from China carried and placed the heavy ties, their bowed heads covered in traditional straw hats, and the Irishmen were trusted with actually laying the track. But the Negro men did the hardest and dirtiest work, digging ditches, moving big rocks, and some were allowed to pound in the spikes that fastened the iron to the wooden ties. 3.5 miles of fresh railroad track lay behind them, and nobody had died. It had been a good day. Simmie Johnson was in mid-swing. His Herculean arms glistened in the sun as he brought the big hammer down. His cousin Willie held the stake in place and barely got his hand away as Simmie punched it several inches into the ground with a loud plink. Only one more stroke to go. Simmie wielded the heavy mallet with ease. He was tall, buff, handsome young black man with a genteel nature about him, qualities that didn't go unnoticed by young females. But Simmie had no time for women, not now at least. He had more important things to concern himself with, like finishing up here, collecting his pay and getting home. The time would soon come when he would leave this dreadful life behind and make something of himself. Soon, very soon. "Come on, Simmie," Willie called. "We done for today." Simmie followed Willie and the other weary workers to the tool wagon, where they surrendered their picks, shovels and hammers to Straw Boss, a wiry, middle-aged, sunburned white man who had earned his position solely through his heritage. "Put mine in the corner," Willie said as he handed in his pick. "I want to use the same one next week." Straw Boss threw Willie's pick into the pile. "Hurry up, Simmie." Willie tugged his arm as Simmie lifted the heavy hammer to Straw Boss, who almost toppled out of the wagon from the weight. A minute later, they were standing in line at the pay wagon, where old Mr. Sykes distributed the wages. Sykes was a chubby old man who wore thick spectacles and a green eye shade that framed his balding head. "Okay, Willie J." Sykes adjusted his glasses and licked his thumb. Then he peeled off dollar bills and counted out coins as he read off Willie's pay record. $5.75. "Thank you, sir." Willie bowed, which was a slight gesture since his back naturally bent forward. "Simmie Johnson," Sykes said as he flipped through the book. Simmie stepped forward. "Here you go. $7.25. "Thank you," Simmie said, wondering why he should thank the man for giving him the money he'd worked so hard to earn. "Wait!" Willie grabbed Simmie's arm and glared at Sykes. "Why did he get more than me?" "You didn't show up for work on Wednesday," Sykes said flatly, "and you left early yesterday. Lucky I don't fire you." Willie frowned. "White man trying to cheat me," he mumbled as they stepped out of line. "He's not trying to cheat you," Simmie sighed. "You've got to work a full day to get a full day's pay. You as bad as him," Willie said, stuffing the money into his pocket. "Come on, let's go get something to drink." Simmie carefully folded his money, placed it in a tattered envelope, and slipped it in his pocket. "I told you before, I don't drink and I don't carouse around." "No, man. Let's go to old Ben's and get a cold pop." Simmie saw no harm in that, so they started down the dusty road toward town. Willie talked Black Pete into joining them. Black Pete was big, dark-skinned, and had even less sense than Willie. Simmie walked a few paces ahead of them, lost in thought. The quantity of motion, which is collected by taking the sum of the motions directed towards the same parts and the difference of those that are directed to contrary parts, suffers no change from the actions of bodies among themselves. "Hey, Simmie!" "What?" Simmie said, annoyed at the interruption. "How come it is that you so smart?" Willie asked. "What?" "I mean, you can read, you can do ciphering, you're about as smart as any white man." Simmie stopped and looked at him. "Maybe smarter." "But why?" Willie said. "Yeah, why?" Black Pete parroted. Simmie shrugged. "I guess the good Lord saw fit to bless me with a good mind." "But why?" Willie asked again. "I don't know. Ask him." Simmie pointed toward the sky as he started walking again. "Don't make no sense," Willie puzzled. "Why would the good Lord give them kinds of smarts to a coloured man?" "What in the hell are you talking about, Willie?" Simmie stopped walking again. "You smart, Simmie, smarter than all the white men we works for. But what can you do with it?" Simmie turned and resumed his pace. "I got plans." He put his hand in his pocket and felt the envelope with money inside. Just a little more money and he could get away from this place. Then finally he could put his mind to work. No more pretending to be stupid just to stay out of trouble with the white man. "What kind of plans?" Willie asked. "I got plans. Don't you worry about what kind. They are my plans. Hopefully it is God's will that I see them through." "Do you believe there is a God, right?" "Now what kind of question is that?" Simmie scowled. "I'm the one who has to read the scriptures to you every night. Big Mama says you don't believe. Big Mama says you a heathen." "A heathen?" Black Pete echoed. "Big Mama," Simmie scoffed. "What does she know?" "She say you study the devil," Willie said softly. "The devil," Black Pete whispered. "Now why would she say that?" "'Cause she found that book under your bed." Simmie turned and faced Willie. "What book?" he asked, knowing full well which book. He only owned two, and what was Big Mama doing going through his things? "That Prince book." Willie cringed under Simmie's glare. "The Principia? She found my Principia?" he asked, carefully using the pronunciation that Miss Abigail had taught him 6 years ago. Willie looked around to make sure no one could hear him. "She said all the crazy writing and the lines and circles and numbers was all the work of the devil." "Man, what you been doing?" Black Pete cried. "Big Mama don't know." "What did she do with my book?" Simmie snatched Willie by the collar. "What did she do with my book?" She burned it," Willie said meekly. "Good thing," Black Pete said. "Shut up, Pete," Simmie bellowed, and Black Pete cowered away. "She burned my book!" He imagined his prized possession aflame, one of the most important things he owned, the thing that sparked his dream of starting a new life. He felt a tightening in his gut. "She said it was the work of the devil, and then it was going to ruin your soul. She burned it to protect you, to keep you and all the rest of us from going to hell." "She burned my book!" Simmie roared as he raised a fist. "Don't hit me, I didn't do it," Willie said. "Big Mama did." Simmie released Willie and tried to calm himself. His Principia! He had had that book since he was 12 years old, when he rescued it from the trash behind the town library. So what if the pages were tattered and the cover was torn off? It was his book. He had begged Miss Abigail, the teacher at the white children's school, to teach him to read, just so he could discover what the book was all about. After he'd breezed through all the readers and textbooks she had, he showed her his Principia. She'd looked at it and dismissed it as nonsense, which Simmie found to be odd, since she had heard of it, and even knew the correct pronunciation of the title. It turned out she'd never actually seen a copy of it before, and young Simmie was able to understand it all the better than she could. And the knowledge, the wisdom, written 200 years ago by Sir Isaac Newton, a genius of a man. It was as valuable to Simmie as his Bible. For over 6 years he'd coveted that book, and now Big Mama, in her senile ignorance, had destroyed it. Fortunately, Simmie had it all memorised. That's all for now.